the sights and sounds of summer nights, crickets, cicadas, and fireflies. Let's pay tribute to magical summer evenings in this month's Caring Arts project. There are just a few simple materials that you need for today's Firefly project. First of all, you need a sheet of black paper. You can use pastel paper, which I have here. I'm actually using just simple construction paper, and that works out just fine. You also need a set of soft pastels. I got this set at the local craft shop for $6. It's very inexpensive. And then we also need some black markers. I like Sharpies, and I have a couple different sizes. I've got a fine point, a regular point, and a white point. But whatever you have will work well. You probably want some wipes or a paper towel to wipe off your hands, but that's really all you need. So I've already pulled out my palette, and these are the colors I'm going to use today. A dark blue, a light blue, kind of a blue-green, and I've got two different dark purples, a lilac, and then a yellow and a white. And I may not use all of them, but I'll probably use most of them. So it's very simple to get started. I'm just going to start with one of my darker purples, and I'm going to kind of work from around the edge of the paper in. So I just want to put down some nice solid color, and there's no particular way to do this. You can put it wherever you like. I'm kind of using the darker colors on the outside and then kind of working in. But you can add colors here and there wherever you like, just to get a range of colors. And then I'm gonna add the dark blue kind of around the bottom edges of the paper. And I'm leaving about 1 inch of black paper at the bottom. And I'll explain why we're going to do that. And then I'm going to start adding some lighter colors. I'm going to add some light purple, and these next colors I'm going to kind of put down in sort of big dots of color, but they can be dots of different sizes. And I'm going to do that with the blue as well. Put some blue dots down. You can make some larger and some smaller. Just blow off the excess. And perhaps with my blue-green, I'm going to put a dot here or there. Maybe add a little more of a slightly different color purple in here. We'll just keep adding colors we feel we need to. So now I'm just going to start blending it together. I'm going to use kind of a circular motion for those dots to begin with. But really, ultimately, we want to get all these colors blended really well. Now, you can use a smudge stick to do this, and a lot of people do. I just like to get in there and use my fingers. So, but the idea is to blend them really well. And now I'm going to start blending them all into each other also. So you can just go off the edges of the paper. Doesn't really matter. I'm still keeping my more or less inch of black paper at the bottom, but I'm going to blend into that a little bit. And I'm just going to keep blending this until it's all really well blended. So now I've got my colors blended. It's all very soft. And they're kind of nighttime colors because we want this to look like nighttime. And you can still see very faintly my little dots of color. But I think I'm going to add some color to those just to make them a little more obvious. Those dots of color are going to be kind of faint fireflies glowing off in the distance. And they're kind of subtle, and that's just fine. So just going to add a little bit more of that lighter color here and there. And you know, you should just keep adjusting this throughout the process, various areas, until you're happy with it. It's all still very subtle now, but we're going to keep adding to it. And now, next, I'm going to take my white, or you could also take your yellow, depending on how you want your fireflies to glow. I might use both, actually. So I'm going to add a little bit of white, small dot of white to that one sort of dot that was kind of purple. And I think I'm going to add yellow to this one, make them glow. Make it a little bit more of a warm glow, so you can see that. You want to blend it in well, but you do want to see it. I think I'm going to make that other one yellow as well. I think I want my glowing to be nice warm colors, but white works just as well, so you could use either one or both. I think I'll use white here. And you shouldn't be adding too much white because a little bit goes a long way. You can always add more. And then just blend it in with your finger. And I'm going to put one more yellow one here. So there I have some nice subtle glows. Add a little more yellow here. And I think I want to add one more white kind of in here. A small little bit of glowing white in the background. And some should be larger than others because, you know, that way it makes it look like they're farther away or closer. And that's very important to capture the right mood. And just blow away your excess dust. And you should wipe off your fingers as you go along. So I have a wet wipe as well as a dry paper towel that I use for that. So the next thing we're going to do is start adding specks of color that really look more like fireflies. So I'm going to take my white and kind of using the edge of the pastel, I'm going to press down a little harder and make kind of a dot of almost pure white, and then I'm going to blend that a little bit so it's just a little softer, and then put a brighter dot in the middle. I'm going to do the same thing with this yellow one here, using the yellow. So kind of a bit of a dot of color like that and blend it, and then a brighter dot in the middle. And you can blend them as much or as you want, or keep them more obvious. We're going to add more obvious fireflies as we go. You don't even have to add the little dot to all of them. You can just keep a couple of them more subtle if you like. But I'm making some bigger than others. And if you have color where you don't want it, use a clean finger to kind of take some of that away. Just like that. And then just blend it back together. And again, I'm going to wipe off my hands whenever I need to. And now we're going to start making some fireflies that look much more obvious. And again, they're just dots of color, white and yellow. But we're going to go kind of outside those glowing areas and just tap to soften them just a little bit. But you don't want to be too regular where you place these. These should look kind of haphazard and accidental. And you can have some bigger ones that glow a little more, and some small ones that are just almost pure color, just sitting there. I'm going to add some yellow ones also. Now fireflies, when they first come out at night, they kind of rise from the ground. So you probably want to keep some low as well. And we can always add more later. But just put them here and there. And blend them together wherever you feel the need to do that. Sort of like fireflies in the mist on a misty evening. And again, we want to make sure we have some low because they should look like they're just coming out of the ground for the evening. I'm going to make that one yellow. Now the next thing is we're going to start adding our markers, and then we can always come back and do more with the fireflies. So I'm actually going to take my big fat Sharpie marker. I've got 3 different sizes here. I'm going to use this big one. And we want to create what looks like a silhouette of grasses, because without the grass it kind of looks like a sky. But we want this all to be grounded with the fireflies coming out of the ground. So we're going to make use of that black area we left at the bottom. Because my black marker is a little bit darker than my paper, I'm going to go all the way across with it and start to create what looks like grasses coming up. And some can be much taller than others. You can make them whatever different shapes you want. You can make things that look like perhaps dandelions. They would be silhouettes of dandelions, of course, because it's nighttime. Or perhaps some sunflowers with some nice leaves and grasses. And you just keep adding that all the way across until you're happy with it. So now I've got all my grasses along the bottom. It's just a subtle silhouette, but now this all looks very grounded. These are beginning to look more like fireflies instead of stars. We want them to look like they're coming out of the ground, so I might add a few more. I think I'm going to use my bright yellow for this, so I'm going to add them kind of in the grass. You often find fireflies in the grass and coming out. Maybe add a couple of white ones too. But you want them to feel very random, and you don't want to have too many, just so it looks a little more natural. Now I'm going to take my fine point marker. There are more insects at night than just fireflies. There's maybe dragonflies or moths. So I'm going to add the silhouette of a couple of other little flying insects. Perhaps a little moth here and there. Just very small, subtle. It just adds a little more interest to your drawing. Makes it feel a little more like summer evening. Fireflies are one of my very favorite things in the summer, so I am very happy to see them glowing, and I was watching them last night and they were just beautiful. I think I'm going to add perhaps one more little yellow firefly here. You can decide how many you need and where you need them and whether you want to soften them or not. But you want them both. You want really glowing ones, and you want some that look like they've just lit up and they're about to fly off. And there we go, our beautiful summer evening of fireflies.